Hey, what's going on, everyone? YouTube, welcome to the Credit Plug channel where we talk about how to build credit, how to establish relationships with financial institutions, and how to get you access to high limit credit funding. So, today's video is particularly geared towards those of you who are new to credit or those of you who are repairing and rebuilding your credit from a previous, credit issues. So, this is really about you know, what I see a lot is individuals who, you know, I guess kind of want to jump into certain levels of credit without actually going through the steps or even positioning themselves, for the highest chances of success with getting approvals. And I guess a lot of that comes from just some common misconceptions about credit scores and I guess a lack of information on what's being used for underwriting. And so I just want to say that you don't necessarily want to overemphasize or even just focus too deeply on your numeric credit score because a lot of times what individuals will see is they log on to Credit Karma and they might see a 700, 720, whatever, and they think that they're ready for prime credit products. And a lot of times this will just be a result of because you can get to a 720, 730 with adding one or two authorized user accounts. And so when you're really looking into applying for new credit or, getting high limits, you want to really focus on your overall credit profile, not just your numeric credit score, because the numeric credit score is not what's ultimately used in the underwriting process. The underwriting process is going to, yes, it's going to look at your credit score, but more importantly, it's going to look at the depth of your credit profile. So it's going to consider your primary accounts. And what a lot of people don't realize is, you might be, you might get a 720 Vantage score from adding in a couple authorized user accounts, but when you go for underwriting, those authorized user accounts are not considered. So it doesn't really matter how many AUs you add to your credit profile. Underwriting considers just your primary account. So AUs aren't going to help you to get high limits. They will raise your Vantage score, that's fine, but that doesn't equate to automatically getting high approvals because remember, AUs are not considered. And so that's just one very, very important misconception that I see. And a lot of people will think, okay, you might have repaired your credit or you might be starting out new. You add a couple AUs, your Credit Karma score is showing, 720. And so then you think that you're ready to just go apply to American Express, apply to Chase, and expect to get, $20,000 limits. But there's nothing on your credit profile that shows that you've responsibly managed debt loads anywhere near that amount. So the key takeaway that I'm just trying to make is that you can't skip steps with credit building. I know a lot of times, people get eager, they just want to, get to the end result, the end goal. But that's not an overnight thing. I mean, it never is. You actually, and that's one thing that you can't sort of fast forward is building history, building primary history. You can, AUs people use to, I guess, in their mind, think that they're, you know, skipping steps by, adding age or available credit, things like that to their credit profile. But with underwriting, none of that's going to make a difference. So you really have to embrace the process, the steps. Some people might think, okay, you have a 700, 720 Vantage score on Credit Karma, then you think, okay, I don't need to get a secured card, I don't need to get a subprime card. And at the end of the day, even if you have a 700 credit score just as a result of just having authorized users, but you don't have any primary accounts, you have less than 5 primary accounts, you are subprime. So AUs don't change that, because at the end of the day, the AU is not really demonstrating your ability to repay. You just are piggybacking. So don't just solely rely on AUs, because I see sometimes people buying 5, 6, 7 authorized user accounts, but are not focusing on building their own accounts. You have to focus on building your own accounts, because that's really demonstrating your ability to repay. That's going to be what's used during underwriting. They're going to be looking at your primary accounts. So that's just one thing. Just remember, there are no shortcuts with building credit. There really aren't. You might think that authorized users, and I'm not bashing authorized users, because I do sell authorized users, but at the same time, that's not the whole picture. Don't just think it's only AU accounts. Like, you need your own accounts. And then you can't skip steps either. Like, you definitely have to demonstrate that you can handle debt loads as a primary account holder, and that's just something that you can't fast forward through. And just because your Credit Karma shows something, doesn't mean that you're going to get approved for everything. If you have a high Vantage score, and vice versa. Let's say if you have a lower score, let's say you have a 640, 650, but you have a ton of primary accounts, you could actually, and I've seen cases, I have data points where, like, let's say an individual with like a 660, but they have years of history as a primary account holder. That person will actually, in some cases, get a higher limit and get approved versus someone who might have like a 700 just from 1 or 2 AUs. The person with the AU, will sometimes not even get approved, or if they do get approved, they'll get a lower limit than the person with, a 660. So credit scores are not the end all be all, and it's not like a linear relationship either. Like, the higher the credit score, the higher the chances of approval and the higher the limit, because that's not the case at all. You really want to just focus on your overall credit profile. Do you have at least 5 primary accounts that you've had, for a year's time? Things like that you really want to focus on. So to get there, you can't really skip steps. And so that's all I wanted to make for this video. Just sort of spelling out some of these misconceptions, because I think a lot of times people are trying to go about building credit, thinking that there could be shortcuts, but at the end of the day, there's really no shortcut. You really have to build up those primary data points, to really start to unlock access to different credits. So that's all I wanted to share for this video. If you're interested in how to build primary accounts, you could visit our website at creditplug.com, or you could email us info@creditplug. Until next time, y'all take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.